So my paper will focus on status philosophy and try to explain why it is important for humans to be free. In the first half of the 20th century, people suffered from economic recession and frequent wars. How to help people escape from the cage of despair and move towards freedom has become the problem of existentialist philosophers, represented by Sartre. In Sartre's view, freedom is absolute and human thoughts can always choose freely and create its own essence in the choice. But at the same time, absolute freedom means absolute responsibility. We must bear the burden brought by freedom bravely. Status emphasized on subjective initiative and the spirit of pursuing freedom give modern people reflection and enlightenment. So my paper were divided into 4 parts. In the first part, I will introduce some fundamentals of existentialism. The second part is trying to explain that we are free and we have to make choice. And then we have to take the responsibility for our choice, not only for ourselves, but also for all mankind. This is the third part. Then we go to the last part, it introduces the freedom in other, which contains some very interesting opinions of Sartre. As one of the representative of existentialism, the concept of existence is the basic problem of Sartre's research. Different from essence precedes existence. Sartre holds that existence precedes essence. Sartre thinks that the people as subjectivity should have the right to make their own choice, which is also regarded as the first principle of the existentialism by Sartre. There is no external stipulation. Human beings must shoulder their own destiny and take corresponding responsibility for their own choice. Freedom is a very important concept in existentialism. It is the premise and the fundamental foundation of our behaviors in being and not the starter wrote. From the time when people enjoy consciousness with the power of negating the world and the conscience itself, and from the time when nihilism fully participates in the establishment of a goal, we must recognize that the necessary and the basic condition of all actions is the freedom of being in action. So Sartre put forward the idea of absolute freedom in his philosophy system. In his view, human existence and freedom are equal. Freedom is not an existence, it is human existence and is the nothingness of human existence. As long as man exists, he is free and no objective thing can restrict him from his freedom. But what kind of person a human will become from birth is determined by his self-selection and creation in the process of his later growth. I am destined to be free, which means that apart from freedom itself, people cannot find other restrictions in my freedom, or we have not stopped our freedom. Set aside, this concept cancels the creationism and the determinism of God. Freedom and choice are often closely linked because freedom means that we can make more choice according to our own wishes. And this choice does not have any hierarchy. When we make this or that decision, we are not bound by any external force. Even if we give up the choice, we are free to choose the option of no choice. From this point of view, everyone has its own unique essence. The established and unchanging essence does not exist because it will change with our choices. If a person stops choosing, it means that his life has come to an end. When we say that man chooses himself, we do mean that every one of us must choose himself. But by then we also mean that in choosing for himself, he chooses for all men. For in a fight for of all actions a man may take in order to create himself as he wills to be. There is not one which is not creative and at the same time of an image of man such as he believes he ought to be. To choose between this or that is at the same time to affirm the value of that which is chosen, for we are unable ever to choose the worst. That gives unlimited freedom to individual choice. At the same time, responsibility also follows. That attaches great importance to the individual's choice to take the corresponding responsibilities. And I believe that this responsibility begins from the date of birth. From the moment I emerged in existence, I put the weight to the world on one person and nothing. No one can reduce the weight. In addition, people should be responsible not only to themselves, but also to others and even to all mankind. No matter what I do, I can't get rid of this responsibility even for a short time because I am also responsible for my desire to escape responsibility. That clearly realizes that every seemingly free choice we make is not arbitrary, and the consequences of every behavior are borne by the people who make the choice. Otherwise, people's free choice will cause social disorder, because when we make every choice, we have unconsciously made choices for other people. In making every choice, we must start from the perspective of self-interest, hoping to get good results. But at the same time, other selection subjectives also hold the same view, which will inevitably lead to the conflict of interest between the two sides, and one side cannot get the expected results. So when we make the choice, we also make the choice and other people can make the same choice. So when I am responsible for myself, I'm responsible for everyone else. I'm creating the image I want and I'm creating others when I'm creating myself. In general, this heavy responsibility is also a legitimate one. As we all know, Sade is not only a philosopher, but also a world-famous novelist and playwright. In his play Confident, there is a famous line, "How is the other?" Other is an important concept in Sartre's view of freedom. Personal freedom and others' freedom are closely linked. In Sartre's novel Nausea, the protagonist once died. I live alone. I don't talk to anyone. I don't accept anything. I don't give anything. Others are bound to pose a potential threat to our freedom, making it impossible for us to freely choose various possibilities for our own development. In this way, the feeling of nausea appears in Sartre's view. The freedom of others and my freedom are incompatible. To fulfill the freedom of others means to give up my freedom. Each of us can get rid of this hellish state. In the process of growing up, we must rely on others to obtain knowledge and nutrition. People are doomed to be unable to stop communicating with others, other than the house we can't get rid of. But Sartre's thinking about others has changed greatly in the later period. In existentialism, it's a kind of humanism. We can see that changed from how is others to others. Freedom is the foundation of my freedom. His thoughts and the French people were not discouraged because of their defeat in World War II. On the contrary, they were more united to resist the German fascist aggression and finally won. This makes Sartre realize that personal freedom can not be achieved without the cooperation of others. What we find in our thinking is not only myself but also others. Here Sartre has realized that the real freedom cannot be found in the lonely personal world. On the contrary, we need to find it in the real society full of others. Only such freedom can be truly valuable. Our stepfather was walking on the road of exploring freedom. It is undeniable that his philosophy can give young people reflection and enlightenment.